And now, the presses are ready to roll.
In 2014, a New York Times public editor, Margaret Sullivan, called for more honest coverage of the Palestinian terror group Hamas, and reminded her colleagues that Palestinians are not merely victims. Here's what she wrote to her fellow journalists. Strengthen the coverage of Palestinians. They are more than just victims, and their beliefs and governance deserve coverage and scrutiny. Realistic examinations of what's being taught in schools and the way Hamas operates should be part of
Seeking
this.
safety from Hamas rockets launched from Gaza, now a daily occurrence across Israel.
The editor's words seem obvious enough. So why did she find it necessary to remind her colleagues, professional journalists, that Palestinians are multidimensional?
Why not?
To answer that, let's fast forward 5 years to May 2019. The public editor is gone. In fact, the newspaper got rid of the position entirely. But the problems she hinted at remain. For example, a May 5th story by New York Times bureau chief David Halbfinger
I've got a hot story here.
rationalized the Hamas sniper attack, calling it a violent but localized expression of Palestinian impatience with Israel's failure to alleviate conditions in Gaza.
Charlie's knocked out a good front-page story here.
The next day, after Hamas launched hundreds of rockets targeting Israeli civilians and succeeded at killing 4, Halbfinger again trivialized Hamas violence by telling readers that the group can express its impatience with weapons. Impatience? Hamas rockets target innocent Israelis and are war crimes. But Halbfinger even suggested that Hamas kill civilians by mistake when referring to the possibility of a stray rocket that kills too many civilians.
Are you serious?
Maybe he should have asked Hamas. Here's what they say about their rocket attacks.
لن تصل صواريخ القسام إلى أي بيت عربي يطمئنوا صواريخنا موجهة بدقة إلى بيوت الإسرائيليين إلى بيوت الصهاينة أنتم كعرب.
David Halbfinger and the New York Times went so far to minimize Hamas violence that they even described Hamas gunmen killed while shooting Israeli soldiers as having been killed while merely demonstrating.
Mass marches, rallies, and demonstrations. Students, housewives, beatnik poets, doctors, businessmen, teachers, priests, and nuns. Makeup and costumes were bizarre.
Here's the truth about Hamas. It's a terrorist group, sworn to Israel's destruction. It fires rockets when it's impatient. It fires rockets when it's not impatient. It sends suicide bombers into cafes, buses, dance clubs, and pizzerias to kill Israeli Jews. And yet the newspaper cast Hamas violence as understandable, motivated by impatience about Israeli bad behavior. So maybe the New York Times editor felt she needed to remind colleagues that Palestinians aren't just victims because they tend to forget that, even to the point of forgetting about Hamas, its goals, its war crimes, and its anti-Semitism. Could it be that our most important newspaper doesn't recognize even obvious anti-Semitism?